Alright, for this video I want to go through a sample form 1120X, which is an amended U.S. corporate tax return. And so the 1120X is 2 pages, so we've got page 1 here, and then page 2, which is an explanation of the changes. We've also got the corrected 1120, so the full return here. We'll have a look at what changes were made and how those get reported on the 1120X. And then for reference, we've also got the prior 1120 that was filed. So this is the return that was incorrect that needs to be changed. So we'll cover those pieces as well. And then lastly, just one slide here covering some background on these 1120X filings and then some more details on the fact pattern. So the Form 1120X is a separate form from the 1120. And what I mean by that is it is a separate filing to make amendments. Whereas if you have amended returns for entities like partnerships or S-corps, all of those changes are just done directly on the return. So if we have a look at a 1065, for example, the 1065 return, if this had to be amended, you would make all the changes you needed, and then you would check the amended return box and go ahead and send it like this. When we look at the 1120 corporate return, there is no amended return box on the 1120. And so that's why when you make these changes, all of those have to be summarized on this 1120X, and this is how the amendments are filed. Now, as far as what circumstances you wouldn't use the 1120X, if you have adjustments for estimated taxes, you could do that on a 4466, or the Form 1139 is commonly filed when we have carryback claims, unused credits, or other adjustments. If you've got anything that doesn't fall within these categories, then you use the 1120X to make the amendment. So in the fact pattern here, we've got the consulting company timely filed its 2023 Form 1120, but it later discovered an error with its tax return. So what happened, they incorrectly classified 6K of independent contractor payments as dividend distribution. So the $6,000 payment was originally reported on the 1120, Schedule M2, line 5A as a dividend, and that was incorrect. So they've got to file the amendments to reclassify those payments. So if we have a look at the original filing, we'll highlight what we did wrong here. The corporation in Schedule M2 here, it had a $6,000 cash outflow, so there were payments going out, but they incorrectly categorized it as dividends when it should have been a deduction. So the amended return is going to remove that, reclassify it to independent contractor payments, which is ultimately reported on line 26, and that'll change the company's taxable income. So if we have a look at the 1120X, we've got the tax year and month end for the company that we're amending. So it's a December year end 2023. The company's name, address, EIN, and then a contact number, which is optional. Now, if there are no changes up here to the name or address, you can just put same. If you had a change in name, during the interim period there, then you would use the name that was filed on the original tax return. But in this case, all of that's the same. And then we've put in the IRS address where we filed the original return. Now, in part 1, we have 3 columns here. So column A are the original amounts that were filed. Column C are going to be these corrected amounts. And then column B is the net change between all of these, which we have to add notes on page 2 explaining those changes. So the as originally reported amounts, we're looking for the total income, total deductions, our taxable income, and then total tax. So if we have a look at the original return, we can see our total income was $627,125. Our total deductions here are actually going to be the line 27 amount plus our DRD. We've got a 325 piece, so we'll add those two together. And then our net taxable income is going to be $17,026, and the total tax that we owed on that taxable income is $3575. So if we have a look at the as original column, we've reported the income there, the total deductions, taxable income $17,026, and then total tax. Now the payments and credits section, we had a payment made with the extension, so that was reported right there on line 33. So we've got our extension payment in there, so we've recorded that. as required on line 5E. And then so ultimately, on the original return, we were due an overpayment of $425. So $425 was the amount reported on line 36 that we overpaid in tax, and we elected to have this credited to our 2024 estimated tax. So we didn't actually get a cash refund. We just had the roll the amount forward. So we've got those original amounts in there. Now we have a look at, well, what had to be corrected. So the corrected amounts, if we have a look at the tax return here, the changes we made. So in starting with M2, we did remove that cash distribution because it was not a dividend distribution. And so instead, that amount was reported up on page 1 on line 26. We've added the $6,000 to that other deduction amount, and so that is reflected on the supplementary statement here. We can see we've got independent contractor payments, $6,000. So once those changes are made, now we update column C for the correct amount. So there were no changes to income, so that makes sense, right? That stays the same. But we did have an increase in total deductions. That increased to $616,099. And so our net taxable income here was reduced by the $6,000 as well to $11,026. So $11,026 is the adjusted taxable income times 21% gives us $2,315 in tax. So we can see there the $6,000 change in net income, net taxable income, that is, results in a 21% tax decrease. So we've got $1,260 is the amount of tax we overpaid. So once we've got the A, B, and C columns corrected, we move on down here to the tax due or overpayment. In this case, we have a reduction in total tax, so we are due an overpayment amount. So we've got the line 11 amount is subtracting line 4, column C, from line 9, and that gives us a difference of $1,260. And we're doing the same in electing to have it rolled forward and credited to our 2024 estimated tax. Now, once all those numbers are set, that's good to go. You have to explain the changes to these items in part 1. And so you should be having a separate kind of paragraph for each change that's occurring. So for example, if up here you had changes to income and deductions, but then you also had changes down here for credits, you would have separate paragraphs discussing each of those changes. In our case, we just have a change to the deductions. So we've got part 1, line 2, total deductions is changing. Company is filing an amended return to correct the classification of independent contractor payments. Company incorrectly classified $6K of independent contractor payments as dividend distributions. The amended Form 1120 removes the $6,000 dividend distribution reported on M2, line 5A. The amended 1120, page 1, line 26, other deductions, is updated for $6,000 of independent contractor payments. So our total deductions now on line 27 have increased from $609,774 to $615,774. Company's net taxable income and total tax decreased to $11,026 and $2315, respectively. Now, the company has also filed the required forms 1099 NEC and the corrected 1099 divs, right? So they've discovered this error, made this change, and then they've corrected all those 1099s as well. All right, so that covers it for this video. Hope that was helpful. Any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. And as always, appreciate you watching and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.